We are live to Facebook. Hello, world. It's great to be with you today. As you can see, we've got Katia, Palmeri, and me, Laura J. Oh, hey. Now we're going to go over live on YouTube. Then we're going to get the podcast kicked off. So you're going to get to see 3 intros. How do you like that, Katia? You get to see 3 too. Do you want to say anything before we go to number 2?
I actually, I'm good where I am right now. So I say we just go.
Sweet. I love it. It's very significant, the number 2, because the irony is it's about becoming the one we've been waiting for. And it's the second time we've talked about it. So it's number 2 of becoming the one, which is just kind of fun. So here we go. I'm just having too much fun already. Katia, I'm so grateful that you
I am too.
To come on with me. Live. It seems like it's just me over here on YouTube, but what you will hear as we get going further, it is 8:08 on Monday night, which is the time when Katia, Palmeri, and I go live over on Facebook. I'm still figuring out the live stream on Zoom, so my apologies for being not technologically inept, but not fully competent in being able to do all that I wish just yet, but I am learning as fast as I can, and it's okay. And so with that, I am going to say, Katia, how are you this evening?
I'm doing pretty good today, actually, in this evening. I've had a great 4 to 5 days, kind of unplugged from everything and really enveloped in a curriculum that I'm building and a operational manual. So I've just been in the finalization of the illustrations for it. So I've been just really focused on what that's going to look like and what needs to get developed in illustration wise. And it's all coming together. And I feel like this is been very helpful because it's like I've been able to kind of vocalize some of the teachings through these meetups on Monday. So it's had its benefits in regards to how things have been falling into place, let's say. And it's just feeling like things are coming together at the right time. So this book, Operational Manual, has been in the making for about 6 years. And so it's been one of those things where my husband and I have been in this, taking it on as the curriculum is theoretical, and then there's the practical and embodiment of it. So we've been in that embodiment of these teachings, and with a kind of a question mark in regards to, should this be shared? When should it be shared? And I feel like right now everything's kind of pointing towards coming to a head, and we're really excited about the final stages again of this. And so that's where my head's been, and it's been amazing because it's just had me familiarize myself with the teachings and be applying them daily. And that's where I am with that.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for putting it together. I know how hard it is to actually fully commit to putting your creative baby into the package the world will receive it as. So props to both of you for going through to, yet another baby together. You have 3 grown women that came through you as the portal into this world. And so what a gift to now being able to bring creative babies into this world with the same man that you created the first 3 with too. That's a very rare experience in today's world, given just how difficult relationships are. And so I think that that's a really good segue into doing a legit intro to the podcast, which we never do because it's rarely just the two of us. But tonight it is. And so I think it was a really great opportunity for us to just kind of go in at it and say it's 8:11, it's new beginnings. This is us being our greatest and highest selves, the highest expression of ourselves. So this is us showing up as we wish for the world to see us to be. And then for that to be the reminder to you that on Friday, if you show up with us again for the next Mind Control Programming and Propaganda Summit, we and many of our friends are going to be gathering online via Zoom so that we can talk about narcissism, not enoughness, and the Indian Residential Schools Act, because it's far more akin to what is going on here than what we have been made aware. So that's what we're going to be doing on Friday, and we hope that you can come for there. We are going to dive straight in, and I'm going to largely throw it over to Katia for this evening in terms of presenting some very insightful illustrations. I have one I want to tie in as well, but I'm super excited for tonight's episode. So thank you for the opportunity to really do it professionally. And Katia, anything you want to say before we kind of do the podcast? And
Trying to think if there's anything else I want to touch on, or I mean, maybe you can share, because I was interested to hear about your the breaking down the bullying summit that you went and held on the weekend. So I was interested to hear a bit about that. I don't know if you want to do that now or later, but
I love this,
I'm excited.
actually. Yeah, so I would love to say, so this weekend was the third weekend of the month, and we're making it a thing. So on the Sunday, on the third Sunday of the month, we have since January been meeting for the peer support on the Pier experience in Port Dover at 2 p.m. So it's just an opportunity if someone needs some peer support, and that simply means others who are going through life that have ups and downs, that have survived 100% of our darkest days to be able to be here as we are now. We show up for one another at the pier at 2 o'clock. And if you're late, well, you might miss us, because if nobody shows, then we go home. But if one does, then we stay, because it is time for us to really come together that way. And so that was then the nudge to get it going in Simcoe, which was what the Saturday is going to now be. And so I had 6 of my friends actually showed up. 5 of my friends, I think, actually. My friend Chantel and her daughter Heather and her Rottweiler puppy, who is only 4 months old. So like we've got baby Freedom involved with album project 22.2, and then we've got a little baby Roddy that is literally going to be growing up through these experiences, right? So it's really cool because of how it marks us as we progress, and then we see the growth in the little ones that are in our midst is really precious. And so Chad and Neil all showed up, and I was so grateful, because you know what, we didn't actually end up talking about bullying or breaking it down, because ultimately we were all on the same page. So it's like, you don't need to preach to the ones that are already preaching to others, right? It's like, you don't need to convert the converted. What we need is to hold space and have compassion for the ones that didn't come because they didn't feel themselves worthy in some way, maybe, or that didn't want to step out of the comfort zone in order to actually go and meet new people, especially after 2 years of a friggin' psyop.
Yeah.
So it was no one that was new, but my friends showed up. You know what I mean? And that says a lot, actually, because it's like, who shows up for you is a really important question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for doing what you do, because you're right. This is interesting times, and this last 2 years have been a huge roller coaster ride for many. And sometimes um, it's it gets really crazy. So to have something that you create, like you've been creating, where people can show up and feel like, they matter, that they're gotten, someone's holding a space like that.
Yeah.
This should be something that's done in every city across Ontario. And it's I guess it's the start of how this could look as building community
Yeah.
um, for a new future. So thank you for starting this and creating it.
My absolute pleasure and honor. And on that same note, actually, in fact, my friend in South Africa, Faith Siku, invited me this morning to speak on her radio show. So we had an interview that was so deep about statuses and standing in South Africa. And it was such a deep conversation. We're going to be doing it monthly as well, which is right after the 3-day weekend. So it feels like things are lining up for there to be huge power punches. And so we were talking right before we went live, and I said, Katia, we didn't actually cover what was intended to on Saturday for the Breaking Down Bullying and Building Community Summit, because ultimately we didn't need to record the inspirational message that would have come through for the one who needed it. So we're going to do it where we can record it and then have it posted and hosted on my YouTube channel, where everything is hosted. That goes to Odyssey as well. So we're going to figure out some other platforms as well. But all of this is just kind of the lead up to say, on either Wednesday or Thursday of this week, Katia and I are going to figure out the best time to kind of tag team this one. And we're going to break down bullying and build community together. And I brought up Faith because she's involved with Sounds of Azania, which that program has some really cool opportunities. I'd like to make some introductions with Album 22.2 contributing artists for. So it's really just bringing all of the things that we've been doing together, which is why this is such a brilliant opportunity. So hey, it's Laura J here today with Katia Palmeri for the X episode of the Kingdom Within podcast with us. I say X because does it really matter? X marks the spot for where we are here and now. And ultimately, this is about becoming the one we have been waiting for. So whatever it is that you've been looking for someone else to do for you, it's time to see that this you too can do and more, someone famous once said. And on that note, I'm going to throw it over to Katia, because you have some incredible illustrations to break down and take us on a journey through. So here's to you, sister.
Thank you so much. So yeah, just back to, these last couple of years, and, what we've all been experiencing, and some of it's, well, a lot of it's been pretty new in regards to, the restrictions and the lockdowns and the languaging and all of this. So it's been like one of those opportunities to look at life maybe in a different way, and maybe do an inventory on, what's working, what's not working. And so in taking it on, even for myself, I realized that, and based on the teachings that I've learned over the number of years, I feel like what's at play right now is really a call to integrity, a call to oneness. So what we've been seeing and what's being revealed is we can see the various systems that are at play right now that have become a little more exposed in regards to how they function and perform. So if we looked at, our healthcare system, we look at our the healthcare system. Let's stay there for now. And so if we have a look at how, for example, our hospitals were able to cope with the virus and the things that came out of that, we could see that there was breakdowns, let's call it, not prepared protocol really. So it had us see the little holes inside the system. And that actually was exposing, this last 2 years have actually exposed a number of things with the various systems that dictate society. So if we look at what's at play again, maybe it's best to define what integrity is first. So integrity is complete, whole, and undivided. And if we look at an individual integrity, I've got actually a powerful definition for just as let's just take on individual integrity for now. So individual integrity means how whole, complete, balanced, and connected an individual is in relationship to themselves, their self, others, and nature, systems, and the source. And the responsibility each has to being a sovereign being, sovereign being, as it relates to well-being, natural self-expression, and authentic performance. So it's a lot of words, and this is something kind of brand new because I don't believe enough is talked to in regards to integrity, and that's why I'm excited to start the conversation around this. And so when we look at our lives, for example, I like this example the best because it breaks it down in a way you can actually see it. So I had a diagram, and I'm not sure if I can actually bring up the diagrams via Zoom right now, but I'll try to describe it the best that I can. So let's say that we start off our day, we wake up in the morning and we have 100% energy level. We're ready to go. It's like we're being reborn in the morning. So we've got all of our energy, and let's call it 100 kilojoules of energy. Mm-hmm. And so we start off the morning, we wake up and we open our eyes, and that's how much energy we have. But what tends to happen is our mind starts to kick in, and the habits start to play out, our patterns and habits. So for example, one of the things that sometimes you could wake up to is this concern or overwhelmment with regards to finance. So we're worried, we're continuously kind of playing the, do I have enough? How much do I need? Is it going to cost me this? It's going to cost me that. So this is constantly playing in our mind, so that when we wake up, that could be one of the first things that we think. Mm-hmm. So we have finance worries. Then we could have incompletions in relationships. So we might have had an argument or a fight with our spouse, or we've had an argument or some disagreement with our family members. Mm-hmm. And that didn't get completed. And so there it is, sitting in the space, this incomplete that we have with potentially people in our lives. Right. Then we have maybe a worry about our work. Right now, things are a little bit different because we've been through, again, a lockdown, and some people, unfortunately lost their job, or they had to close a business, or their workplace is just redesigned now. And some people are working from home, others aren't. So things have changed in respect to that. So it might have people being a little bit more worried about their work situation. Could be just an insecurity there. Thank you for bringing that up for me, Laura.
You're welcome.
And then, of course, we could also have unresolved, unhealed childhood issues where, we've had experiences in our childhood and they're almost like blind spots. We don't realize that they still play out in our lives. So they could be sitting tucked away inside a little nook in ourselves. And from time to time, those will show up like a context of not good enough. So if you look at this kind of breakdown of what could it be like possibly waking up in the morning and how that affects our energy, because again, we don't have enough conversation around we're energy beings and how does that translate. Well, here's a good kind of good breakdown. So for example, if we're looking at this chart and we've started with 100, by the end of just literally opening your eyes and all the thoughts overwhelmingly swishing through the mind, and what we could be tying ourselves to right first thing in the morning could have us really left with not a lot of energy for the day. And so a lot of the times what people will describe as a lack of integrity or incompletions is you'll have this experience of feeling tired, no energy. You'll feel maybe unhappy or confused or worried or disturbed. And so imagine that world. And again, the miracle is that we get to wake up every day and we have a new life ahead of us. But woohoo! However, if we're not aware of these things that kind of sit in the background, and I call them like constraints, breakdowns, incompletions, programming, conditioning, all these little things sit in our space and we don't realize just how much they occupy of this space. And so as an energy being, this is going to, translate into a lack of energy, a lack of luster, like woohoo, aliveness. And so imagine this is happening, and hopefully not to, everybody every day, but I mean, if we're not taught about mindset, we're not taught about energy, we're not taught about incompletions, then of course it's going to be a part of, our way of being and acting. So that's why I wanted to bring this across today as an important kind of a distinction and bringing awareness to how do we wake up every day? Do we feel whole and complete, or do we feel not whole and complete? And these are some of the things that we can look at to measure and kind of like do our inventory, like, that's strange. Like I just had this thought today. And so if we start to become aware of these things, that's half the not, I don't want to say battle, but it's half the challenge, because in the beginning, not to even have an understanding or awareness is, having us be walking through life kind of blindly. So bringing awareness, and I say that there's 3 pillars to transformation. There's awareness, education, and action. So consider this as awareness as the first pillar. So now that you're aware that these things could be in our, in the space, now we can attack each and every one of those.
Oh yeah. So the will is the O, like the big O, the source of creation, the orgasmic experience of seeing your desires birthed incarnate is the space, the vortex that a woman becomes the portal for life to flow through and then be able to bring into this world. And what you were saying as well that is so relevant is the distinction even between insecurity and inner security. Because fundamentally what we're talking about, insecurity, if you're in security, then like you're in it. And we have to be out of the forest in order to be able to see the forest or see the trees through the forest. So like if we are in security, or if we're insecure, then we don't have inner security. So what is inner security? But actually putting 3 R's on inner, so it rolls the tongue and makes it more flirty and fun, and it becomes individual needs necessitate emotional resilience, resonance, and respect as the foundation for how we become the one we've been waiting for.
Love it.
Yeah, keep going. Fantastic. The will is just like, I can't hold back now that with Cian de Rohan's Right Use of Will series and the introduction of awareness as the God principle, and mother, mater, as the will principle that meet in the heart and then blast through the heart as desire in manifestation, or the will of manifestation as the woman, because we are the womb of man and we are the will of man, because the man is the one that pokes the space, the hole, without like, but we're all, we're all varying stages of adult anyway. So it's just like when we actually look at it as the stick and the hole, and fundamentally we go back to the question, which one came first? It was the egg.
Yeah.
It's only when space drew awareness to it. Without desire and the will for it, there was no awareness to be grounded.
Wow. Yeah, it's true. Um, it's like that's another topic on its own, will. It's
Oh,
so powerful. It's so powerful. And it's like part of what I've learned in regards to will, just as a little side note here, is it's actually based on like levels of energy. It's actually opposite of desire. So desire comes from a lower realm of energy, which is more, it's more caught in a possible scarcity mindset, something that, a belief that we don't have it already. So you desire it. Where will is that it all exists, and you will it forward, or you will it on, because all possibility exists and abundance exists. So I feel like will talks into abundance and possibility, where desire talks more out of scarcity and it's not already here. That's kind of like, I just thought I'd bring that in forward into the conversation as well. But I think we should have a conversation deeper about will and how important it is. And yes, how it's a mechanism, I think, to manifest powerfully with the background of a higher purpose. I think it's tied into that as well. But we can definitely have a conversation just all on that, maybe in the next one.
yeah. Yeah, sounds fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Next Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard
yes.
Time. Invite your friends, come in and be with us for a chill conversation on the journey inward. And make sure you smash that like button. Share the message on your social media accounts. We appreciate you for that. And getting in the habit now means you'll get rewarded when the platform that will come is together and incentives are offered for actually being willing to get the message out, because this is an uncommon conversation, because it took a lot to get to the level of understanding that we embody, because each of us have been destroyed self-image wise many times in order to be refined. So that's part of becoming the one. Like, you don't become the Messiah overnight. Like, the Messiah learned to have faith and trust because you learn to walk in the dark and know that if you look to your own eyes to sense all that could befall you, then you are leaving a lot of perspective unasked for, because the higher realms will not offer interference if you do not wish for it. If you do not will them to assist, it would be interfering with your free will for them to help. So we must actually remember how to ask, how to call for assistance, and to remember we are all worthy.
Yeah.
At the heart of who and whose we are, it's the same. It's different expressions of the one we all come from, we all return to, and only feel separate from in the meantime because we don't see ourselves in one another's reflection.
Brilliant, brilliant. And on the note of worthy, I just wanted to bring another important point to the worthiness. So I know what I experienced growing up, and almost up to where I am right now. It's been maybe 10 years that I've been in this inquiry, this inner world journey. And I was dealing with unworthiness for years. And I couldn't understand. And it wasn't that I was really aware of it when I was going through it. But now when I look back,
Yeah.
I see that in our society, it's constructed where worthiness is tied to doing and having.
Mm-hmm.
So it's completely aligned with, the bank account, like you were saying earlier, like with status, huge. So it's about the title, the certificate, the degree, the title, I might have repeated myself, but it's in that world, in that realm. So, I think it was Wayne Dyer who said, if your identity is completely locked into your career, what happens when you don't have a career anymore?
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of like lost because that's what you identified yourself with. So the new paradigm, or the thing we should be looking at now, is worthiness tied to being, the beingness. And I think that's the greatest lesson that I've learned, because, my entire family kind of still operates from the realm of the doing and having. So there's, kind of interesting conversations we have where, they're still, they're not stuck completely in that thinking in that way, and they're open to listening, but it's definitely been a challenge for me to talk into that listening, I guess. But I just wanted to bring up a point in regards to worthiness, that the struggles that many people have is because it's tied to this external world and the titles and the identity and all that it creates the struggles and kind of like the suffering that we experience. But back to to integrity, and just to finish off the point from the last diagram. So imagine, if we're taking an inventory, just as soon as we wake up and actually get what's starting up in our minds and what are we starting to think about, and we can actually start jotting them down every morning, and just getting present to what are the consistent things that come up, and why do they come up, and really start to examine that. And that's how we start to take control. Or they're just literally going to be there acting out and taking control of our lives. Yeah. So I think it's a great exercise to start to do in the morning, and really get present to what are the constraints, the incompletions, the programs, all the different things that guide our ways of being and acting, and be able to get control of that. So if you really look at of the type of energy you're waking up with, you will see that there's a hard time. You would have a hard time being present and being alive, feeling aliveness with that in the space. So it's like, what are we missing out on every day in regards to like literally living this potential from our power, from this place of aliveness? Because and the other thing is that we actually have been doing this for so long that it feels normal. Like we don't even see the difference until you have experiences where you feel alive and you go, holy shit, yeah. Like, wow, what a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why we've been trained that this is live. Like, this is what it means to be live. When we actually get together in person, another status that's been brought in for us to think that's what we're doing when we're together. It's just like, when we're in person, we don't say we're live. Like, we just get on with the meeting. But that's when it's online, it's a virtual reality, which is an artificial reality. Oh my gosh. This afternoon, I had the dawning realization that art is the foundation of artificial.
Wow.
And then artificial, art, I, fish, all, because it's all about hunting and fishing, which is catch and release. It's a sport. Art,
Hmm.
I, fish, all. Just get all the fish into one pool, earth, heart in a different order. Get all of the souls that are on the vessels, forgetting who they are and whose they are, and then give them words, which are boxes, to put the creator, creative energy into, to think they're talking about different things when it's really just a different label on a different box. But it's the same thing because the energy is in the box, outside the box is the box. If energy is all, then the only place all is not is where love is absent, right? And that's when we then feel alone.
Wow. What a great insight. Wow.
Yeah. Art, I fish all. It's just like, okay, yeah. Because our art is turned into an artificial reality where we think we're the biggest fish in the pond. Right? And then we find out there's bigger ponds, there's oceans, there's lakes, there's rivers, there's all kinds of different bodies of water, all of which is maritime admiralty contract law, where we have to contract to conform to fit into their vessels. Because when you are assumed or consumed by the group identity that you then begin to relate to, so like a police officer used to be a sign, like the uniform was a sign of respect, right? Like you see an officer, it's like, ooh, yeah, right? Now it's just like, corporate dog, to an extent, just like, no offense to the man or woman that wears the uniform. It's just no longer something that I respect the way that I was trained to, because I've been bullied by the uniform. The
Mhm.
uniform, when I stop being myself so I can conform to the unit, no.
Yeah, it's it's a great insight, and it for me, what comes up is the religious uniforms.
Oh, yeah, speak.
Hmm.
What is it called? Yes, what's that called as well, that they called the nun's garb? What is that called again?
What is it called?
It's very significant.
Yeah, yeah.
Her habit.
Yeah, habit.
I forgot until that moment, in fact,
Oh
actually.
my
Christ
goodness.
for us
Wow.
all. Yeah, baby. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. The nurse wears her
It's
habit
all it's all intertangled.
in order to get us used to that which we're to see ourselves as. You wear your habit.
Wow. I completely forgot about that too.
Especially when you have none of your own ideas any longer, because a nun is sworn to be the vessel and conduit through which God is transmitted, right? And if the nun is absent, the entity is able to overtake her, like in the Matrix, where Matrix, well, the nuns are the vulnerable ones that, oh, okay, just, come through me, be of the greatest and highest. But if you don't know to protect yourself, then like evil can get in under the guise of what we want. So desires can be the guttural aspect that draw us to something that isn't actually in our greatest and highest good.
Mhm.
But you were going to say about the religious outfits.
Yeah, I was just gonna, because you commented on the police uniform, and it's, what comes to mind for me is this authoritative authoritarian symbol, let's call it, of the religious, Christianity, let's say, and how I was, so taken back by that growing up and being in the church and looking up to the priests and not quite understanding, but there was something that obviously came over me in regards to this, respect and honor and that sort of thing, until I found out more about, the history of Christianity, and everything changed from that point. But
yeah,
you're right when you say, like, there's like this, the uniform, the symbols, all these various things that we've been programmed to respect and honor and so forth, but not really completely understanding the background of all of it. So there's so much to speak to, because this just opens up more and more as we speak. And it's like, I guess it's just, this brings awareness around, taking responsibility for our lives and being, doing our due diligence in regards to, questioning everything, critical thinking. And this is what's going to assist as well, in regards to understanding how we operate. And that's why having this discussion about, what does it mean to be whole and complete? What does it mean to be the one, or be one? And it has a lot to do with understanding who we are as a self-knowledge journey. And I like that you brought up Matrix, because that's what really it is all about. Is, there's Neo having his adventure, and he's discovered that there's this Matrix, and he goes to the Oracle and was asked, are you the one? And he didn't really say he was the one. He was questioning it. And the Oracle makes a point of showing the sign, which is this ancient maxim, which is know thyself. And it's so pivotal and key to the movie, because I believe, a lot of the teachers that I've learned from, Krishnamurti's one of them. He says that without self-knowledge, there can be no peace. That's how serious of a inquiry it is. Yeah. That if we really have an examination on the inside of, how we operate, who are we, what is the purpose, why, what is our reason for existence? These three fundamental questions unlock a well of possibility and wisdom, which will assist in becoming whole and complete. So I wanted to go back to that topic. So if you imagine a wheel with spokes on it, as an individual body, individual existence, that each of those spokes represent areas of our lives. So if we're looking at being a whole and complete individual, those spokes should be in a pretty good condition. They should be almost perfect and intact. And as I demonstrated earlier, most of us aren't, the spokes aren't all in good condition. So we've got, we could have a relationship in the family that's not working. We could have a career issue. We're not sure what we want to do, and we're not in a job that we like, and we're in the midst of, deciding what that's going to look like. We have health issues potentially. So all of these are spokes, and one by one, and you can see the wheel on the left. Thanks again to show that, Laura. So we can see that there's a wheel that looks like it's in great condition. It looks whole and complete. And then we've got another one, which obviously looks like it has spokes that are compromised. So when the spokes are compromised, the entire wheel is compromised. So you can take a look at the wheel, and it can represent an individual's well-being, a family, a community, an organization, a country, the earth. So if we measure, our whole and completeness, I know that you brought up a great diagram today in regards to the wheel of life, I believe it's called, which was great because it actually breaks down the areas of our life and the main ones. And if we just did again, an inventory on, are we whole and complete in our money and finance? Are we whole and complete in our career and growth? Are we whole and complete with our health? These are amazing guidelines to, again, taking some inventory to see where we might not be complete, where there might be constraints, where there might be self-limiting beliefs coming into play. All of those things are going to impact on how, again, how present we are every moment, how alive we are when we take on life, and our power and potential. So it's so key. Again, this is fairly new as a conversation in regards to kind of the things that we've been experiencing these last couple of years. I think has, again, to me, has shown up like we're being called to integrity, to really look at ourselves and ask the question, you know, am I living my potential? Do I live limited or limitless? And what kind of aliveness, what level of aliveness am I living as well? So the great, I guess, distinction in taking that on would be looking at this again, whole, complete, and undivided. So I'm trying to think of where I can go with this. So yeah, if we're looking at it from an individual standpoint, and we're starting to, let's say, become more whole and complete in all areas of our life, what we'll start to see is this resonating outside of us. So we become the example for others. We have the ability to take what we've learned and bring it into relationships, into organizations. And so this can become a momentum outside. So if you look at what's going on even right now in the world, we've got a number of crises going on all at once, and it's no coincidence. This is something big because we're in the midst of a transition and a transformation in consciousness. So it's no surprise that this is a global, and that this has affected a number of various areas of society. So you look at the environment, and we've got
ding, 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 ding. All right, carry on. Sorry. I had to hit my steel drum. Okay, sorry about that.
I love it. Yeah. So if we just look at the systems outside of in society, if you look at even just the environment alone, where we have, you know, trees being chopped down, and you know, plastic showing up here. And so these are all symptoms of an incomplete, not functioning system, where there's almost a diminishment context to them, where we've forgotten to respect and to care outside of us, because there's something going on inside of us where we kind of lost respect for ourselves and not taking care of ourselves first. So it's just a reflection, the outer reflection of the inside. So that's why it's important that we take on individually this transformation on the inside, which will automatically create transformation on the outside. So yeah, I believe it's just, again, about this whole, complete, and undivided space. And it really will have us also be taking a look at what's important to us. We should be doing an inventory on, do the things that we have really matter, and are they contributing in a positive way to my life, or are they more of a burden, like a heavy burden? And that's another constraint that could be in the way as well. So I think as people are taking on this inner journey path, what I discovered was we don't need as much as we think we do. And it's a very much more simpler life. And it's about the inner riches versus the outer riches. So you'll really anchor in, you know, what's the, you know, how precious is joy and bliss and connection. And so, yeah.
I think the question that we really have to start asking, that I haven't really heard anybody expressly encourage people to ask, but we have to start measuring, or at least questioning, how much of my energy am I going to have to leave behind with this choice? Is it going to be an investment, or is it going to be an expense? We spend money or we invest money. Money that is spent is gone. Investments give us a return on investment. There is forward movement because we've actually considered the contribution we wish to leave behind us, the
Right.
legacy that we wish to leave behind. So it's like that, it's the wheel of life exercise, that if you go back every quarter, so every 3 months, or even just every half a year, go back and have a look at all of the quadrants within the wheel of life. And so look at your community, for instance, because that's what's so fundamental and what's going to turn this corrupted ship around. Community connections is where we find compassion, common passions, where we are able to bring it together so that we can actually say, okay, my community matters because I matter to them, because my energy impacts my environment. And I am now choosing to be conscious of how much of my energy I am able to keep present, compared to how much of my energy I've left in a not now moment that I have no ability to change. So, how can I contribute to my community now based on what I do have? It doesn't matter if you were, a high school all-star that isn't that now. You know what I mean? It's just, we have to stop saying our best days are behind us, or the good old days, because what's going on right now is just so mind-blowing. It's just like, well, how can this possibly be the world that we have allowed to be? Well, it happened because the con was sent and we consented to accept it. And now we say, okay, no, let's go to the environment section and say, okay, well, how is that working? And what you actually do as you go through this exercise is the rings represent 0 to 10, 0 being at the center point in the middle, 10 being a high rating in that quadrant. And what you do is you go around and you actually measure each of these 0 to 10. And what you then find is that, just like the spokes on the wheel that Katia had shared, where the ones that are broken that need some TLC, time, love, care, attention, ultimately they would be far smaller in their ratings compared to those areas where we have really made good investments. Those would be more full. And then once we've went through the whole circle, then we have to say, okay, well, how comfortable is it going to be to ride through my life on a wheel shaped like that? And then make our choice.
Love it. Love it. And we have to keep in mind too, like you were saying earlier, when we're taking on new things, we're in a new inquiry. It's to be expected that there's going to be things that feel uncomfortable, may not make sense, may make us angry or feel a certain way. And
Yeah.
believe me, I've had so many of those in
Mm-hmm.
taking on the uncertainty of discovering who I am and what life's all about. And it's to be expected. So it's, that saying with no pain, no gain. So in taking on this inquiry, this inner inquiry, it may look at times like it's not going in a good direction, or
Just
there's
forward before you even take a step forward, or two steps backwards before you launch forward. Yeah. I've
100%.
yeah. You know what somebody said to me though that's so clever, and for anybody that's in a space where you feel like you're more so, in the backpedaling space right now and you're trying to launch forward, is that even when you trip, you fall forward because at least you tried. Like at least there's some kind of forward momentum. So if
Yeah.
you have recently fallen, if you feel like you're falling, if you have anxiety that you're going to fall, all of that is because you're not present where you actually have power in the now.
Mhm.
So when you recognize yourself in anxiety, see it's because your energy is corded into something that's not here. So you are out here connected compared to when you're connected straight into the source that you come from, will return to, and only feel separate from while you're here. So that was just I just wanted to kind of throw that in as a nice way to round out tonight's episode, which I am so grateful to everyone who has joined in watching the replay, capturing the nuggets that Katia and I have shared this evening. We appreciate your support sincerely, so please do give it a like, share it with a friend, leave a comment, let us know what this message means to and for you, what you're going to do with it, whether you're actually going to do the wheel of life exercise that was shared with you. And when you do, each time too, I didn't mention it before, but I now will do so. Please make sure you put the date on it. Date all of your work. Because if you don't date it, how do you know it?
Yeah.
Like you don't just want to rush into things. I'm kind of taking this elsewhere than just the, wheel of life exercise and making sure that we date it. But how many times, I can't tell you how many times I've personally went back and found a wheel of life exercise I completed, but I didn't date it. And I don't know when specifically it was, what specifically was going on. Katja, I know we are going to wrap this up. There was a
Yeah.
point where, right at the end here, where you had said about, when you're going backwards before you launch forward. I think because people see us here, sometimes people forget what it took for us to be willing to actually show up. Even on those days when we feel like we've taken 2, 3, 5, 10 steps backwards or fallen
Mhm.
into a friggin' sinkhole, like
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's as easy for people to relate to people that maybe don't talk about what it took to get there. And I know that, there's a part of us that really wants to think that it was easy and there was something special about them. And, people that know me, I'm a country girl from a farming community. I live with my papa. By some people's accounts, I'm underperforming and need to be going out and getting a job and all of those projections. And then there's the part of me that is completely surrendered to the fact that, like, I am my papa's companion and cook, and I get to create and go upstairs and tell him about all of these things that I do that stretch his world. And that means so much to me because I see the greater value of the role that cannot be bought. Because if it was, then it would not be the same as what it is when it's just based on unconditional, pure love. And so I say that because for me, when people see me, some people think, I'm doing awesome because I've been working at this for like 11 years. So some people see I'm pretty polished, and I'm not saying that to be complimentary of myself, but I'm being
Mhm.
honest. I've worked to be able to be a wordsmith and, use the art of language and break it down the way I do. Like it's taken a lot of energy, and the same with you as well. And so it's just like I can only speak from my experience because I know the people that know me and think like, oh, Laura, or like, oh, Laura, or like, oh, Laura. Like, there's all kinds of different responses, right? But
Yeah.
like those days when we don't want to show up and we do anyway, or if you want to speak into a like now with more space in between, it's just like when you say yes to big opportunity that stretches you and like pulls you so far out of your comfort zone that it's just like now you're in your growth zone, stretch zone, moving towards the panic zone, and it's just like life then smacks you in the face because you've just opened the door to something you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
It's like, what's it like to actually still show up?
Woo. Well, it's just like your um, generosity for having me be able to join you on Mondays. So I haven't done many lives. This is like the first time I've been taking this on. And, it's a whole new world for me to be able to share and speak to some of the things that I've learned and my experiences, and be able to share that in this type of forum. And so I still have things come up for me even tonight. Like I was a little bit, I could feel um, the little hesitation inside of me. And what happens is that it's usually just before we go live, but then once we're live and I'm feeling, feeling the energy,
Yeah.
and in the conversation, all of that kind of starts to fizzle away. And I think each time I've been doing these lives with you, I've noticed more ease each time. So it is the thing that takes practice. And I've learned now, because of everything I have taken on over a number of years, that this is what it looks like to grow and to really grow into who I am. And as much as there's that, little angst and that little nervousness and the unknown, and the rewards are tenfold. So I was going to say earlier, the way that I've looked at it is I've been in many breakdowns, but without the breakdowns, I would never have had the breakthroughs.
Mhm.
And I realized that the breakdowns and the breakthroughs means I'm alive. I'm actually taking life on. And, that's what it's going to look like. And the more you do it, the more that you're going to be aware of the brilliance that comes out of it, and these rewards, and how you feel. And so this has been, like you said, over a number of years.
Mhm.
I've weathered many storms, and um, my awareness is such now that when I see these things coming, that awareness helps me to maneuver through them a lot easier, because I've had many over a number of years. So I just look at it like I turn it around into a positive, where breakdown and breakthrough just means that you're actually taking life on,
Mm.
and that the potential that you have, or any one of us has doing that, is limitless in regards to the types of rewards and experiences you're going to have. So let's all, take it on. And, that's why it's important too, to have community like what we're building here with Laura and I, that, when you start to take on, if you've already taken on, and you need that support system and a place where you're talking about things that matter and things that can contribute to that growth. This is the type of community I think that will make the difference
And while
today
you
and
were
on.
yeah, while you were saying that too, Katia, I do you remember that movie called, I think it was called The Moth Effect? It was
Sounds so
kind of like
familiar.
a horror movie, but that just flashed in my mind when you were speaking, The Moth Effect. And I remember it was basically about how like a butterfly's flap in one space can completely change the trajectory of someone's life in the other side of the world. I don't know specifically, that is just one piece. I can't remember how it connects to the moth effect, but I saw that just kind of come through. So I just offer it to whoever needed to be reminded of that, or to say, like, hey, in fact, this is that movie. So feel free to comment down below if you know it, and we can then check it out. But to your point too, Katya, going back to the wheel of life, I just want to round out and say that with that exercise, you may find that your rating actually goes down at times when you do the exercise in future, because your standards have changed. So what
Mhm.
previously you may have been super satisfied with or unsatisfied with, suddenly when your values change because you come more into alignment with who you truly are instead of who you thought you needed to be in order to be enough, suddenly your wheel of life results may change. So recognize too that a decrease in a number or a rating doesn't necessarily reflect your overall satisfaction. Really paying attention and tuning into how you feel about where you are in the moment in each area, and giving some added breakdown for context as to where you are, as to why your numbers are the way that they are, and then making sure that because you've dated it, you can keep your wheel of life designs together, and then you can actually go back and see your progress, but actually know how to interpret it rather than the number, for the details and the context that Katia has made such a fundamental principle to always go back to: context, context, context. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you again for a fantastic evening. And we say peace.
Thank you.